NCIS Season 23 has finally given fans the confirmation they've been waiting for. The franchise has officially identified its new Tony and Ziva dynamic, and it happens in the Veterans Day crossover event. The two-part story kicks off in NCIS Origins before continuing in NCIS itself, tying together a 30-year-old mystery that brings back some surprising faces. Even though Mark Harmon doesn't step back into the flagship series, the crossover still finds a way to honor Gibbs' legacy by reintroducing someone from his earliest team, Special Agent Vera Strickland, played by Roma Mafia. Vera hasn't appeared in the main NCIS series since 2013, when she briefly joined the MCRT as Ziva's temporary replacement. Now, more than a decade later, she shows up again in Season 23, Episode 5, and the show wastes no time reminding viewers of her history. Her return ties directly into the crossover case, a decades-old murder cover-up in Serenity, California. When Thomas Mulligan, a man who went to prison for a murder he didn't commit, escapes decades later, he ends up leaving a trail right to Vera's door, dragging her back into NCIS business and into the orbit of the current MCRT. Even though she tries to avoid answering questions at first, Vera being Vera means she ends up inserting herself straight into the investigation. She goes from quietly reviewing files to acting like an unofficial team member again, even planting herself inside MTAC next to Parker and McGee. But it's what she says once she sees Jessica Knight and Nick Torres on the giant video screen that really shakes up the fandom. With one sly line, "Who are they? The new Tony and Ziva?" Vera basically confirms what many viewers have suspected for a long time. Because Vera worked in the bullpen during the original Tony and Ziva era, her comment carries weight. She knows exactly what that kind of chemistry looks like. And the show has been very intentional about hinting that something is simmering beneath the surface between Torres and Knight this season. They've talked a lot about their friendship, but fans have noticed the glances, the energy, and the slow-burn vibe that feels very familiar. Vera's instant comparison suggests she picked up on the same thing in seconds, and that the writers want us to notice. The comment also works on another level. Yes, Torres and Knight technically fill the roles Tony and Ziva once held, but Vera's tone implies something more. Something about their dynamic reminds her of Tony and Ziva specifically, not just their job titles. And that's exactly why fans have been buzzing. NCIS doesn't name-drop one of its most iconic relationships by accident. If the show didn't want viewers thinking about that parallel, they wouldn't have Vera, of all characters, be the one to call it out the moment she meets them. Whether Torres and Knight end up becoming a couple or continue dancing around the possibility like Tony and Ziva once did, NCIS is clearly leaning into that energy. Vera's return works almost like a stamp of approval from someone who witnessed the original duo up close. It's the series' way of telling fans to keep paying attention because something meaningful is brewing beneath the surface. What do you think? Is NCIS officially setting up the next big slow-burn romance? Or is Vera just teasing the audience? Do Torres and Knight give you Tony and Ziva vibes? Or is the show misdirecting us? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So drop your theories in the comments and let me know what you think the writers are building toward.